Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this celebration of property apprenticeships taking place to round off National Apprenticeship Week. Today, we'll be exploring what it means to be a property apprentice within the Valuation Office Agency and across government as well. So if property is the career for you, then this is the place to be to find out more. My name's Gareth Wakefield. I'm the Surveying Profession Capability Team Leader, and I work in Claire Johnson's team. Claire is the Government Property Profession Senior Sponsorship for Apprenticeships. Unfortunately, she's not able to be here today due to unforeseen circumstances, but I'm pleased to be able to introduce a range of speakers from the VOA across the government property profession and also from the Department for Education. And we'll be hearing from some of our current and former apprentices to talk about their experiences as well. So firstly, I'll tell you a little bit about the VOA and the work of my team, and then I'll introduce you to Jane Ricketts, who's our Head of Council Tax Technical. She'll tell you a bit about her career journey as a chartered surveyor. She'll then move on to talk about the apprenticeship routes. We're currently advertising our Level 3 and Level 6 BSc surveying apprenticeships on civil service jobs. Level 6 MSc roles will be advertised this autumn. I know some of you attending today will be interested in those because we've spoken to you at some of our career fairs. So thank you very much indeed for joining us. So the Valuation Office Agency, we're an executive agency of HMRC, and we're the public sector's property valuation experts and advisors. We employ around 4,000 people, and we're one of the largest employers of chartered surveyors in the UK. Our workforce actually covers a range of professions: surveying, operational delivery, analysis, finance, policy, HR and IT, all supporting the work. And our work at the VOA really matters. It underpins over £60 billion in taxation, predominantly non-domestic business rates and council tax. So what we do touches each and every citizen and every business across England and Wales on a constant basis. That's over 26 million homes and 2 million businesses. In our District Valuer Services, or DVS team, we provide a range of property and valuation services across England, Scotland and Wales. We help public bodies manage their property assets effectively. We ensure that citizens and businesses are paid paying the right amount of compensation should they be affected by public infrastructure projects. And we also provide valuations for property taxation matters, ensuring people are paying the right amount of tax. We support HMRC with inheritance and capital gains tax, for example. Here at the VOA, we're huge advocates of offering apprenticeships to our existing staff and new recruits. We have apprentices at all stages of their lives and careers. And our apprenticeships offer people a chance to gain a fully funded qualification and earn while they learn. They're a great way for us as an employer to reward and develop talent as well. So therefore, we're today marking Celebration Friday of National Apprenticeship Week. It's a pleasure to be here to talk to people who are interested in surveying apprenticeships and to hear from some of the apprentices in the VOA themselves. So a little bit about my team before I hand over to Jane. I work as part of the Property Professional Services Directorate, and we offer a range of specialist and technical services supporting our operational teams across government. Across our directorates, as I said earlier, we undertake a huge range of valuations for properties as diverse as doctor's surgery, work for the national highways, work on asset valuations for central government departments like the Ministry of Defence. And the team across PPS supports complex cases and upper tribunal work, and also technical training as well. And my team, the CBG learning team, the surveying profession team, we help support and facilitate that learning. So most of the team are chartered surveyors, but some of us work in other professions, such as myself, I'm in human resources, and we help facilitate the development of our people. So one of the people working within the team is Jane Ricketts. She's our head of council tax technical in the litigation and technical policy team. And Jane has a very diverse career within the VOA and across government. And she's going to tell us a little bit more about it now. Thank you, Jane.
Sorry, mute. Thank you, Gareth, and it's good to talk to everyone this afternoon. So, as Gareth said, I'm the head of Council Tax Technical, and I've been in that role since the beginning of last year. I've had, as Gareth says, diverse role. I've been qualified as a chartered surveyor for over 30 years now, and I actually started my career in the VOA as a sandwich student. So, did a year placement up in the northeast of England. Dealing with a wide range of things, and that was pre-computers, so we were doing a lot of manual work at that point as well. So I think some of the people who've been here in the agency a long time are aware of how we used to record everything manually. I went back to finish my degree. It was at a polytechnic at the time, and then after I graduated I joined something called the Property Services Agency, and that was the equivalent at the time to the GPP, the Government Property Agency, really, except it dealt with everything, including contractor work for government departments. Specialised in property management there, lots of lease renewals, dilapidations, end of leases, some lettings, some interesting things like a small shop unit office opposite the Houses of Parliament. Sort of like getting landlords to remove dead pigeons from lift shafts, very varied across London. I passed my final qualifications within there, and then in the mid-90s the agency was sold off and I opted for redundancy. So I did a short stint at East Sussex County Council doing asset valuations, and then I came back to the valuation office at that point, and I was doing council tax valuations sort of like early on in the stage of the English list as well. So lots of tribunal work, very much baptism of fire, lots of inspections, lots of dealing with customers, interestingly. And then I left kind of like late 90s. I went and worked for a local authority in their property management department. Very interesting. We were dealing with commercial lettings, rent reviews, defaulting tenants, in-house right to buy valuations, big housing asset valuations, and it was in a former new town. So from that point of view, we had quite a lot of quite interesting properties that we were dealing with across the whole range of domestic and commercial property. I came back to the VOA again for the third time, and hopefully the final time, and back in 2003. And I was on a part-time basis, young family, and I was juggling various parts of work. That along with that, I was initially it was on DVS, which is our District Valuer Services, which values for other government departments. As well as taxation, and I was dealing with the whole range. And then I joined the 2005 NHS asset work, so I was valuing lots of health properties, hospitals, and all the diverse range of portfolio they had then. I think probably the most interesting property I inspected in that time was Broadmoor, and that was definitely an experience. And there were some quite challenging valuation requests of pretty unique properties. Continue to work part-time, and that's something that I've done for most of my career within the valuation office. It was only last year when I got promotion to grade 6 I went back full-time, and I would say that very much a case of being part-time has not held me back, and it's never been something that has impacted on the way that my line management or other people have seen me and my capabilities. And so I've had opportunities throughout my career to develop and take on different roles. So I did get promotion. So I left DVS and I moved into council tax as a complex caseworker. And that was back about 2011. I was successfully promoted to grade 7 in 2016, and I became at that point a council tax technical and litigation specialist. So dealing with high court cases, providing guidance across the whole of the agency for staff, and working with the grade 6 at that time. I then had a stint in our valuation assurance team, and that was really interesting, looking at what's really key for a good rating to ensure that we've got good quality. And I also handled our escalation register, which is really sensitive cases that our senior level staff needed to be aware of, you know, the whole of our directors and our chief exec, and to ensure that updates were done and the handling strategy was in place. But technical is really where my heart is. So in 2021, I came back to the litigation and technical policy team, working as a technical advisor across the full range of council tax and non-domestic ratings, supporting teams dealing with litigation, until last year when I was promoted to the head of council tax technical. And now I kind of support our council tax unit. I deal with cases at the High Court, which is where council tax cases go. Provide guidance, work with other government departments, provide advice to our policy colleagues and to MHCLG and Welsh Government, and support our reform, because within CT in Wales, there's going to be a big reval in 2028. So I provide technical support and legal support to them in that. So really quite a varied range. I've really enjoyed my career and I've really enjoyed working within the valuation office and the opportunity it's given me to get into some really technical space. So, having given you a lengthy tour of my career, I'm now going to talk to you about surveying in the VOA generally. And surveying is at the heart of what we do. So developing this profession in the agency and our skills to undertake this wide range of roles and recruiting talented people to do it is fundamental to our business. And it's been a really major drive within the agency and continues to be, to ensure that we support people in that space. So we've got about 4,000 people in the agency, and of that around 750 are chartered surveyors. And we have over 400 people on development programs at the VOA learning to become chartered surveyors. So, and these programs are made up of diverse talent. We have deliberately developed it in that way to provide opportunities for people irrespective of their educational or social background. And that leads us nicely on to our apprenticeships in the VOA. So we've been involved in the development of surveying apprenticeships since Trailblazer apprenticeships were launched, and we've since seen numerous colleagues become chartered surveyors through this route. We're now proud to currently be the leading employer of surveying apprentices in England. We offer 2 distinct level of apprenticeships for both surveying technicians and surveyors, and we work with partner universities and educational bodies to administer these schemes. So there's opportunities for those with GCSEs or A-levels or degrees. These apprenticeships are available to all, and we have people of all ages ranging from 17 to 60 plus undertaking them in the VOA. So as Gareth said earlier, you know, whatever stage of your career you're at, there are opportunities for you within this. So what are the impacts and benefits of building our surveying apprenticeship programs? So for us, apprenticeships are key to attracting new people to our workforce and the wider profession. Apprenticeships not only enable employers like us to attract early talent through school leavers, but also people who are considering a career change later in life. So they provide opportunities to attract a much broader demographic than solely focusing on the traditional graduate entry. Apprenticeships are having a really positive impact on the diversity of our workforce, and we do see a benefit from that, from having a diverse workforce. So for example, 41% of our surveyors are women against an industry benchmark of 20%. Also, around 15% of our surveyors are from an ethnic minority background. And we are aware there's more to be done in this area, but we are better than the industry benchmark of just 2%, and nearly 23% of our surveying pipeline of apprentices are from an ethnic minority background. Apprenticeships are also important to the VOA as they are effective in promoting social mobility. Evidence shows that people from less privileged backgrounds who complete an apprenticeship get a bigger boost in their earnings than other learners, and they're also more likely to complete their course on time. So social mobility is an important focus for us in 2025, and apprenticeships will continue to form part of our strategy. So I suppose what we ask next is, why would you want to join an apprenticeship programme in government? Why would you want to undertake a surveying apprenticeship with us? If you join an apprenticeship programme in government, you'll be working with some of the best surveyors in the country who will support and advise you as you work your way through the programme. And so, for example, I've at times been a supervisor or a counsellor, and that's really very much something that's expected of all of our senior surveyors and anybody who's qualified, is to support staff, whether it's a level 3 or a level 6 or a level 7 apprentice. It's not just about building your technical skills, though. As vital as they are, it's as much about developing the people skills, which surveyors do require in the course of their day-to-day work. And as with anything else worthwhile, you get out what you put in. You'll get the best training with us, but the qualification requires commitment and dedication. It is challenging, but you will have plenty of support and a fantastic career ahead of you. So I hope that set the scene for what apprenticeships are like within the VOA, and I'm going to hand back to Gareth now.
Thank you very much, Jane. Well, the slide that's displaying on the screen at the moment, you may wish to take a screenshot of this or photo for later reference, but we will put some of the information within the chat a little later on. We've got a couple of people from our development team, Jess and Jane, online, who hopefully will be able to put their email address in the chat. And I'll introduce you to them a little bit later on. We're also going to be hearing from some of our current surveying apprentices, but now I'm just going to hopefully get the right slides up here for Becky, and I'd like to introduce you to Becky Spencer, who works in the wider government property profession. And she's our property apprenticeships manager at the Office of Government Property. So welcome, Becky, and hopefully I will be displaying the right slides for you now.
You are brilliant. Thank you so much, Gareth. And I suppose just to explain to everyone on the call, as it's National Apprenticeship Week, I've been in London with some of our government property apprentices and also fast stream colleagues and graduates at the Government Property Conference 25 at Westminster. So that is why Gareth is very kindly sharing my slides for me, because I don't have a second screen. So if I go slightly kind of off a page, I'm sure you'll forgive me. If you could turn on to page 1, please, Gareth, that would be amazing. So just a little bit about myself. Sorry, excuse me. With regards to my previous career, I have worked in and out of civil service for many years. I've worked at HMRC on 2 separate occasions. I've worked at DWP. I've worked in the prison service, and the theme throughout my career has been staff development, helping people to set goals, reach goals, encouraging them to complete as much training and learning as they can, and that is available to them. When I worked at DFE for about 3 years, I was specifically in apprenticeships, and I was a contract manager. So that's where my love and passion for apprenticeships came from, and that's what led me to this role. When this role became available, I absolutely jumped at the chance to do it. It was just mentioned before about, social value and people from different ethnic minority backgrounds and also working class backgrounds. Just to let you know, I'm from a working class background. When I was younger, I didn't really have a vision of where I wanted my career to go. So I see apprenticeships very much as, I suppose, the golden ticket to get employment, training, experience, and also you get to build such brilliant networks. So sorry, I'll stop rambling. As you can see on the page, that's just a little bit further about me. I suppose my most commented on attribute is that I can talk to anyone about anything for a vast amount of time. So I will try and be quick as I'm going through this. I am aware that we're against the clock, Gareth, and I'll canter through as quickly as I can. So if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, please. Perfect. So who are the government property profession? So it's not just one particular government department. We span across the entirety of government departments. So just to let you know, within the property profession, we currently have around about 7,000 property professionals. Of that 7,000 strong workforce, 6.9% of the workforce are apprentices. And just to let you know, that VOA are I suppose, biggest clients, so to speak, with regards to apprenticeships. You account for probably about 90 to 95% of all of our apprentices. So you're in absolutely amazing hands if you do decide to take on a VOA property apprenticeship. So yeah, next slide, please, Gareth. Perfect. As I just said there before, it's not just one department. We work with so many different departments. As you can, I'll not go through them all, but as you can see there, there's a wide range of government departments that have property apprentices within their staffing. We offer FM apprenticeships as well as the surveying apprenticeships. I know, Gareth, we had mentioned before about the levels that VOA offer. Just to let you know, there are other apprenticeships that are available to you. They are on the screen, and I can always provide more information on that. I'll give my email once I've finished speaking, if that's okay. So if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, please, Gareth. Perfect. So just to give you a little bit more information on the possible projects that you might get involved with. So you could be getting involved with new buildings, the planning of those. The planning of those buildings. It could be retrofits of already existing buildings. It could be maintenance. It could be disposals. You could be on the government hubs program, which I think you may kind of have heard of that one. As you can tell by the accent, I'm from Newcastle area. Anyone who is familiar with Newcastle knows that Benton Park View is closing down shortly, and the new government hub that is at the bottom of Northumberland Street is well on its way to being built. It's not the only one, but the one to mention just because it's where I'm from. So a wide variety of different projects that you might be able to get involved with. And that was just to say one thing that the apprentices, when I'm speaking with them, what they always say is no 2 days are ever the same. So next slide, please, Gareth. So how GPP supports our apprenticeships. So again, lots of acronyms: GPP, Government Property Professional. So that's the team that I sit on. So I am employed at Cabinet Office or in central government. And as I said before, we link in with all of the different government departments who have property apprentices. On my team alone, we have HR experts, we have people who deal with senior recruitment, we have apprenticeships, which is myself, we have the fast stream manager, we have a person who does accreditation, we have early talent. And I suppose what I will tell you is, so my deputy director, Jake Drummond, he actually started his career in property as a cleaner at a school, and he completed a level 7 FM apprenticeship, and he's now a deputy director, and he has a really interesting career. If you check out my LinkedIn, as I say, I'll put it in the chat just at the end when I'm finished speaking. We featured him throughout this week. We did a video so you can hear more from him. But just to say that apprenticeships really can open up a wide variety of opportunities for you to get involved with. So next slide, please, Gareth. Perfect. Just to let you know, I mean, this does look a little bit daunting. Please don't be scared of it. There's lots of boxes. This is our career framework. And if these, I'm quite happy for the slides to be shared, Gareth. I'm not sure if they were going to be, but I'm quite happy for my slides to be shared. In the blue, the career framework, that is a link. So what this document does, we've actually logged where we have the different level of apprenticeships and the possible career options, and where those linkages are. So if you do a level 3, it's not just one career path that you can go on to, not just one job, apologies. And then with the level 6, again, it's not just one job that you could possibly have. There's a whole host. And if you visit this document online, it's very interactive. You can click into it. But for the sake of today's conversation, that's just a really very brief overview. But when you do click into the links, it gives you further information. So that is there. So next slide, please, Gareth. So just to let you know as well, we also have the Government Property Community Portal. So anybody who is in the property profession, you're able to get an account. It's my team who update that, and when you send off your request, it's my team who will agree the request. So within the portal, we have loads of different information and guidance for you. So there's news, there's events, there's learning and development, guidance, forums where you guys can get involved with conversations with other colleagues. It doesn't have to be just apprentices talking to apprentices. Apprentices can talk to anybody else who is within the profession. We also have up-to-date guidance on there with regards to the news and events. And I suppose I'm specifically talking about myself for the last week. The events that I've been hosting for National Apprenticeship Week, that's where they've been advertised. So it's a really brilliant resource. It's completely free. You just have to be within the profession to have access to that. And it is honestly just a gold mine of resources and information. As I say, if the slides are shared, the link is just on this page, just at the top there in the blue. If we could move on, please, Gareth. So also just to let you know, when you sign up for the portal, which was on the previous slide, you automatically get put onto our distribution list for the weekly bulletin. So our comms team pull that together. They are really on the pulse with getting that updated. I've quite often got stories in there where I'm celebrating apprentices, but again, it pulls lots of different news stories from different parts of the property profession. So they are all within there. You can just see there at the bottom of the page, the apprenticeship spotlight. This is an article that I've just started in January, and that is very much to shine a light on our amazing apprentices and also support staff who work with our apprentices. So what I'm doing is every month I'm featuring someone, whether they are an apprentice or an apprentice support worker, just to get to know them a bit better, to get the profile of our apprentices raised that bit higher. Next slide, please, Gareth. So again, just to let you know, there is lots of opportunities for learning and development and also jobs and careers. Sorry, apologies, I'm tripping on my tongue here. We advertise the current vacancies that we have within the property profession on the portal. So there's lots of links there. When the slides are shared, you can have a little look. But that is, this screenshot was just taken, I think it was about 2 weeks ago or so now, but it will have the live job vacancies that are there. So lots and lots of resources. So next slide, please, Gareth. So that's my details there. If you want to take a screenshot, that's absolutely fine. Because that's there, as I say, I'll let you take a picture of that. I can pop my LinkedIn in the chat after I've finished speaking. I'm quite active on LinkedIn. Some would say that I'm a LinkedIn pest. I like to describe myself as a social butterfly. So please feel free to add me on LinkedIn. That's absolutely fine. If you have any further questions that maybe if you don't want to ask during this call, I am completely open to you contacting me after this call. That's absolutely fine. So I'll stop talking, Gareth, and I'll hand back over to yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Becky. It's some great information there about property apprenticeships across government. And where I work in one of our regional centres, I work very closely with our estates team who be going through the FM route of apprenticeships as well. So we will get the information out to you on all the different routes available across government. We're going to meet some of our VOA apprentices in a moment who are on the call with us. But before we do that, I'm going to share with you a video that was created a few months ago in one of our regional offices, where some of our apprentices and people on our development programs speak a little bit about their career journeys. So hopefully this will work okay for you all.
We can value all sorts of property classes for the public sector. It can be for sort of things like disposal purposes or for rating, non-domestic rating purposes.
Typical range of work for me is undertaking challenges for non-domestic rating, specifically offices. It involves talking to agents day to day, coming to decisions and taking them to the next steps.
So for myself, a typical range of work is considering casework submitted by external property professionals and considering whether we need to review how much they're paying for their business rates.
The main work I've been doing is working on inheritance tax cases, so valuing domestic property for inheritance tax.
So the inspections that have been really interesting to me include visiting a residential property that had rising damp and had some structural defects apparent in the building.
My favourite inspection was when I accompanied my supervisor on an inspection of the viewing platform with the Shard. I'm not very good with heights, but I did really enjoy that and I couldn't turn that opportunity down.
I would say I find inspections the most interesting when you get to meet people. It really helps you get a sense of how the local economy is doing, the impacts that the decisions we make have on their lives.
I enjoyed visiting the types of properties that you wouldn't get to go to normally. So one inspection I did was on a disused bank, where we were able to go down and look in the bank vaults, which was really interesting and not something you see every day.
It looked really spooky down there.
Yeah.
Under the District Valuer Services, I had an inheritance tax inspection that was of a large property in Surrey with a huge amount of land. And then once I got to the property, it was a vast amount of animals, land, all kinds of different factors taken into account. So that was a really interesting valuation to undertake.
I've been involved with the Schools Outreach project where I assisted with a measurement exercise, and I also explained what the level 6 apprenticeship was like and giving feedback on presentations that the students had prepared.
I really enjoyed when we did the interview panels as well. They really were surprised about how well they could do and really appreciated the feedback. It was a really rewarding experience for all of us, I think, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
That I'm from Croydon myself, and it was good to engage with them and show them what we do and give them a pathway to a potential career. So it was good to get them involved with the valuation exercise, with comparing properties and looking at different property types.
The best support I've noticed is when you work directly with people in the office. The VOA offers opportunities for you to work with specialised and lead valuers, so you gain a large range of experience.
During my apprenticeship, I got a lot of support from my APC counsellor and supervisor, also from just regular colleagues. And that's the one thing I found in the VOA is that everyone will help if you ask them. I've worked for the VOA for a number of years. My youngest child reached school age and I was looking for a career challenge. I didn't want to leave the VOA because it's very flexible and very family friendly. So I was looking for another way to develop my career, and the level 6 apprenticeship came up.
I chose to work at the Valuation Office Agency because of the APC pathway and the development towards getting your APC accreditation and chartership with the RICS. So the support's fantastic, the people are great, and the whole programme seemed really suitable to my future growth as a chartered surveyor.
Yeah, I agree. I think the support here is unmatched, completely different to what you'd get in the outside world. There's a structure here, a pathway that they follow, and it leads to great success rates as well.
My top tips for anyone joining the VOA: be like a sponge, take in everything that you can. People are giving out lots of information all the time and it will become invaluable to you.
Stay organised, but also don't be afraid to seek support. You know, if there's any pressure points, assignments that need doing, they can adapt your workload accordingly.
Do your research and speak to other people to see what experience they've had.
Ask questions, get involved, try and do as much of a variety as you can, because that's the best way you can learn.
You're in control of your APC and your pathway, so you've got to go out there, look for that experience, but also you've got a wide range of experience from other people that you can draw on. So use those people as a base for to get to that relevant experience that you need.
My top tip is not to let age put you off. When I started the apprenticeship, I had a young family. It does fit in with family life. You do have to learn how to manage your time, but it's enabled me to develop my career, and now I'm a professional chartered surveyor.
And you can find that video on the Valuation Office Agency's YouTube channel if you wanted to watch it again. I'll put the link in the chat a little bit later on. Now, we're going to be joined by some of our apprentices, some who you saw in the video, and some of our other apprentices as well, and some who've recently completed their programme, such as Alva, who's on the screen. Alva, you did a route where you worked across several different units within the VOA, including our council tax team. How did you find your training undertaking the master's programme?
Yeah, I just found it just a great experience overall, really. Like, you know, you've seen from the video, everyone else, you know, some of the sound bites you get, like back like a sponge. It's all really important to do those things and just go to it, you know, with an open mind, and just go, I want to learn as much, and I want to, you know, get better and do all the things that, you know, I need to do to progress through to becoming a chartered surveyor.
What would you say was interesting about the inspections you had to undertake? Anything that's particularly memorable?
So I think I went on one inspection, and it was an industrial property, but they had loads of luxury cars there. So like, you know, Ferraris, Bentleys, Maseratis, Porsches, you know, all of these things. So you're just walking around just going, wow, this is something that I'd never ever get to see. You know, it's just, yeah, it was just really, really amazing.
Now, Alvis, some people on this call will have met you last week at one of the careers fairs that we went to and signed up to it. You've been involved in quite a bit of the outreach work. How have you found that?
Yeah, I think the outreach is just, you know, one of those things where you get to, you know, it's almost like a role like no other. You know, you can do part of your day job, but then, you know, you go out and do other things that, you know, you wouldn't think you'd be part of, you know, working for anywhere else. So yeah, it's just a really good, you know, to keep your kind of day-to-day activities, keeping it like fresh, and you know, no 2 days are the same, really.
Thank you. Also joined on the screen, we've got Ali, who was in the video. Ali, you've since passed your APC and finished your apprenticeship. What have you gone on to do afterwards?
So it's been, I've had quite an interesting journey over the past maybe a year and a half since I've passed. I've had career development talks with my line manager, and I've kind of moved from department to department over the past maybe 1.5 years. So currently at the moment I'm working on a revaluation project, so Reval 2026. So I'm kind of lead valuing retail properties in the east of the country. So most of Kent's kind of underneath my jurisdiction, and I'm basically valuing all of the retail properties, whether it's just standard shops, restaurants, kiosks, and I'm just getting a general range of experience within that area.
And Ali, you've been looking into undertaking a different kind of development program for your sort of leadership skills. Can you tell us a little bit about that and some of the career development we offer?
Yep. So not only do you get career development that's focused with valuation, I've also been nominated for what's called Aspire 2025. So I'm kind of learning managerial experience at the same time. So just literally earlier this week, I was in a 2 to 3 day conference in Horsham in an which included an overstay, and we literally just learned about self-development, how to develop personally, and also how to drive a team as well. So it really made you dwell at yourself, and really made you think about your learning style, and also how your ability to lead can affect others, and how you've got to not only work as an individual person to achieve results, but also motivate your team to be the best that they can too.
Thank you, Ali. Now, we do a wide range of work with other government departments. And Nika, you've been involved in some work with the Department for Education. How have you found that? What have you been doing?
I have, yes. It was very interesting to sort of do a different type of work, do a lot of inspections on schools, and as much as you think, oh, schools are all the same, they're not. You get different shapes, you get different sizes, you get different people. It was very interesting to be out and about and actually discover quite a lot of different variety of shapes and sizes of spaces.
And what's been your favourite type of school? What the most challenging, I guess?
Well, the most challenging, definitely I had a school that was a star shaped, which was very interesting. I don't know who would design that, because half the corners you couldn't put any furniture in. But it was definitely interesting to measure. So that would be the most interesting, I think, I found.
You're combining studying and working, and as we heard from within the video from Michaela, people study at different stages of life. So you're combining it with a family as well. How do you find that?
When I started the apprenticeship, my son was 2. So it has been very challenging. I'm not going to lie. At times it is quite hard to juggle life and with learning and work. But I've learned how to forward plan, so that's quite good, and sort of look at where you can fit things in, where you can study on the train on the way to work, and it is doable. So if I could do it, you guys can.
Thanks, Nick. And now someone who's right in the midst of studying and was on the video earlier is John. And John, you've got your APC coming up. So I think you're working on your final submission as we speak of this week. How are you finding it?
That's right. Yeah. It's been a lot more work than I thought it was going to be, the submission element. You get used to the studying with the degree, because I did the master's apprenticeship. So, it's a lot of work, absolutely worth it. Echo Alvar's comments. And then you have a bit of a break, everything calms down again, and then everything starts ramping up again. But the support you get is absolutely fantastic. There's so many people wanting to help you out, proofread, in their own time, and it's a brilliant place to work. I don't think this happens in any other workplace in this profession. So I absolutely can't recommend that element enough.
Thank you, John. And what have you found most interesting about the apprenticeship? Likewise, you've worked within different teams and departments across the agency.
Yeah, that's right. I spent a while on rating, which is it's the non-domestic rate side of things. And when you're doing that, you kind of get caught up in that world and think that is surveying, but it's really not. When you get to DVS, you realize how niche that area is, and it really broadens your understanding of the opportunities available, and how wide the opportunities you could progress to later in your career if you wanted to. So I think going to DVS was a big change. And district valuer services, for those that don't know, is kind of like almost like a commercial arm for the VOA. We cover a lot of different things, a lot of different types of work, inheritance tax for HMRC. We do some assets valuations. So it really introduces you to how people think about valuation in the private sector and the outside world. So the experience you get here is really well-rounded, really broad. And I cannot recommend it enough.
Good. Thank you, John. There's someone else who's working on the DVS team at the moment is Bree. And you're working with some of our experienced senior surveyors there. What kind of projects are you working on at the moment? How have you found? Oh, sorry, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Great, apologies. At the moment, I'm currently working on the Guildford's asset project. So we work closely with Guildford County Council to value some of their non-residential assets. So that means inspecting things such as car parks to activity centres like Ninja Warrior UK. So each asset is completely different, and that kind of goes along with our day-to-day work that we currently do in the DVS. So it's very fast-paced, which I enjoy.
And how have you found studying and working doing the apprenticeship?
It's definitely something where you learn time management. As someone that studied at university with my BA the kind of conventional way, it forces you to kind of understand how to juggle things, which is amazing. And you also meet amazing people along the way that are also kind of learning how to juggle with fellow apprentices, and you can kind of make friends and work colleagues along the way, which is amazing, which is something that you can't really do at universities. You kind of go off into your own different bits after graduating, but the apprenticeship kind of meshes everything together in a way.
Thank you. And now, someone else who's working in a different area is in our rent officer functions. We've got Amna, who's doing a level 3 apprenticeship, and came along to one of our career days last week. Amna, how have you found doing the apprenticeship?
Hi, it's good at the moment because I just started in September, so it's a new experience for me because my previous degree is like totally different. So I wasn't, very sure, in the start, but then I thought, I have time. Why don't, I tried because I have one of my friend, and she was quite encouraging. It's very good for you to progress in your career because I started as a AO, but now I'm EO. So to go further within this field, I think I need degree related to surveying. So it's quite interesting at the moment. It's just still it's a bit start, so I'm still exploring.
And what's your day-to-day work involved working in our rent offices?
Yeah, it's quite interesting because, we kind of cover 3 areas. Like we do fair rent for the properties, plus we do deal in the housing benefits, and we do collect the rental information from private sector. And, and we support like, DWP, local housing allowance calculation, and, broad rental market area maintenance across England. So it's quite interesting. It's not like same job you are doing every day. Sometimes I'm going out on inspections, and sometimes I'm visiting agents. So it's like, I'm meeting kind of different people as well. So it's quite interesting role.
Thank you, Amna. And finally, we'll hear from one of our BSc apprentices, Jack Northern. And Jack, we were speaking yesterday, you've been doing quite a range of interesting inspections. How have you found the apprenticeship?
Hi, I've really enjoyed the apprenticeship. There is varying levels of workload. So at the start, you do your learning, and then when it comes to assignments, the work is quite a lot, but you get through it, so it's okay.
And you've been working with people across government as well on taking people out on inspections, and also been involved a bit in the schools project. How have you found that?
Yeah, so I took some people from the prison service. Maybe I don't know what the actual name is, but we went on an inspection, 2 of them, and we were working across government professions, which was great. Good to know other people and apprentices from other organisations. Sort of broadens your network. I did the schools project with NECA, and we went to schools all around London, and got to see some really old schools, some new ones. And inspect them.
Thank you. Thanks. And what would your top tip be to anyone who's thinking of applying for an apprenticeship with us?
My top tip would be to keep an open mind, come to the interview prepared, and just be yourself.
Thank you, Jack. So Jack and Nika both worked on the net capacity assessment project for the Department for Education, and the program manager for that program, Sally Listen, is joining us now from the Department for Education. Hi, Sally. Welcome.
Hi.
How have you found working with VOA apprentices on the program?
Yeah, so just a little bit of background about me. I work in the Department for Education, but not in the sort of apprenticeship area, like Becky mentioned earlier. So I work in the property area, and my work is all focused on school buildings and school places and making sure there are enough school places. So I hadn't had much exposure to apprenticeships at all. But my current programme, the Net Capacity Programme, working in schools, as a couple of your apprentices have mentioned, we're working in partnership with the Valuation Office as the sort of best placed organisation to do what we need to do, to collect the data we need to. And with our sort of DFE head on, skills and apprenticeships are kind of one of the key threads of the missions within the DFE of growth and opportunity, and we've mentioned social mobility. So we were absolutely delighted when the Valuation Office said we'd like to have quite a big group of apprentices within the project team for this project, and I immediately thought, oh, that's I don't know much about it, but that sounds really positive, especially as we're the Department for Education, and that's kind of our remit. So it looked very good on paper from that point of view. It looked very good and we were delighted to have it. And as we've sort of gone through the project, one of the delights of getting to work with the Valuation Office is that we get to meet all the teams in person, which I really, really enjoy. And we are invited to join the regular meetings with them. And what I've noticed is that at those meetings, the apprentices really bring something to the teams. And they get a lot back from the teams as well, and it's really good to see that in motion. And I think from my selfish perspective, that brings a lot extra, lots of energy, lots of new ideas and new ways of thinking, and sort of freshness to the project teams, which seems to help. I mean, the teams work brilliantly anyway, but it really brings it a new sort of focus. And personally, sorry, very long answer, Gareth, to your question, but personally, having not had much exposure, and I've got teenagers, so it's been a real eye-opener for me, particularly when looking at my son and thinking, well, what career routes does he have? It's been really great to see all the kind of the exposure that the apprentices get, and the level of different opportunities they get is really, really positive. So overall, it's been great for me personally. It's been really good for the programme, but I think it's really good at DFE level as well that we are working with partners that support one of our sort of key missions at the same time.
Thank you, Sally. And any tips for people wanting to follow in your sort of career footsteps? What's your career been like across government?
So I've worked in various public sector organisations. I've worked always with a focus on schools buildings. And I think a key bit of and I've worked in local authorities, and I've worked in DFE, and I've worked in an academy trust and in schools as well. But I think the biggest learning point for me is that working in education doesn't just mean teaching. 50% of jobs in schools aren't teaching jobs, and a lot of the work around education provision isn't necessarily what you might think it is in curriculum. There is a big piece of work around making sure that there are enough school places and that they are in suitable buildings for children to go to school in. And it's a really, maybe I'm biased, but I think it's a really interesting field. And I quite like the fact I've never wanted to be a teacher. I'm very grateful there are people that are, but I've never wanted to, but I love working in education. And I think it's just a really good, you can still support something like education without having, you can be a property expert or a surveyor. I work with a lot of surveyors of all different types, building surveyors, quantity surveyors, valuation surveyors. I work with a lot of different property professionals. There's a lot of property management and project management roles that are linked to education, and that will be replicated across other civil service departments as well.
Thank you, Sally, and thank you for joining us. And leads nicely on to Jess Lawless, who's from our development team, very much involved with the education and training of our apprentices. And Jess, you're going to talk a little bit more about the application process and the live vacancies we've got at the moment. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Hi everyone. Yeah, I won't take too much time because I don't want to eat into your Q&A session if you have lots of questions for us, but I'm just going to talk to you about our roles that are currently live, a little bit about civil service behaviours and how they sort of work, what we're looking for in our sort of whole recruitment, our application and our interview process, type of examples, and then some useful resources as well. So my name's Jess. I work in the development team as part of the Valuation Office. That's part of the wider people group. And my role primarily is now recruitment. So I have worked across graduate programmes, supported apprentices, but we are the central vacancy holder for all of the development scheme recruitment. So that means that we manage that end-to-end process. So from the planning stage through to onboarding everybody and everything in between. So work with multiple stakeholders to make all of that happen. So as I mentioned, we support graduates on our graduate programme, level 3 surveying technicians, level 6 BSc and MSc chartered surveyors, through the apprenticeship programme, but also through the APC, which is the Assessment of Professional Competence, through the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors. So lots going on in our team all the time. We're currently recruiting for lots of new apprentices, which I'll talk to you about in a moment. So as I've mentioned, we've got our level 6 chartered surveyor, our BSc level 6 chartered surveyor. So this one is a 5-year integrated academic and work-based programme. The first 3 years of this apprenticeship is where you'll be sort of studying, doing the academic side, and then you'll submit for your endpoint assessment. The following 2 years, you'd then be undertaking the assessment of professional competence with the RICS. We've also got the MSc programme, as you've just heard some of our apprentices talk about, and this is a 3-year integrated academic and work-based programme, and this programme is where you'll actually be studying the apprenticeship and the APC alongside each other. In addition to that, we've got our level 3 surveying technician, which is a 27 to 30 month programme, and this is leading to associate member of the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors. And many of our level 3 apprentices actually will then progress onto the level 6. And then we also have our graduate programme, which is a 2-year structured programme, which is just solely the APC. So there's no sort of apprenticeship element there. So just to mention our current live vacancies. So currently live on civil service jobs, we have our level 6 BSc and our level 3 surveying technician. They both close in a couple of weeks, so the 28th of February. And these are for any candidates who are either VOA colleagues, but they're not in the aligned role for the apprenticeship. So we need to signpost them to apply externally, or it can be for anybody else outside of the VOA. So we'd always recommend, you're aware of those roles that are live at the minute, but signing up for civil service job alerts, because all of our jobs go through there. For our VOA colleagues on the call, we have our internal vacancies live at the moment as well. And that's our level 6 BSc and level 6 MSc and the level 3. Again, all closing on the 28th of February. And as I mentioned, these are the colleagues who are in the correct role, which aligns to the apprenticeship. And it's more of a development opportunity than starting a whole new role, because you'd stay in the role that you're in to start with. So to access those roles, you just need to go onto the intranet homepage where the National Apprenticeship article's on there, and there's a link which will take you straight through. If anybody's on the call who would be interested in our level 6 MSc, but you're not already in the VOA, that role alongside our graduate roles are usually advertised around September time, so just a little bit later on in the year. And as I mentioned, if you just sign up to those job alerts, you'll get that through to your inbox. We do have a couple of, we call them like candidate information sessions running. So we've had a couple this week. We've got some next week as well. So for the internal campaigns, that would be accessed by the intranet again. And for our external campaigns, we have we have them on the candidate pack. So if you just go on civil service jobs, and I'll try and put the links in for you as well just before we finish. So lots of opportunities available to you. We'd really encourage you to have a good read through the SharePoint pages and the external candidate packs, and it'll set out all the information about the development programmes, what to expect, eligibility requirements and that sort of thing. So as we've heard from our colleagues on the call, so much support available to you You'll never be alone to go through it all by yourself. You've got your counsellor, your line manager, supervisors, apprenticeship provider, learning and development team, buddies. So a real range of support there for you. And upon completion, again, as we've heard, it doesn't stop there. You can progress further into senior and lead roles. So yeah, just be aware that there's lots of progression for you in your career. So top tips, I'm just going to cover off a couple of things here. So firstly, just talking about civil service behaviours and how they work. So behaviours are sort of the actions and activities that people do, and this results in effective performance in a job. So we use them as part of the assessment process because behaviours can be sort of observed and measured, and that gives us a real good indication and being able to predict if you're going to perform well in the role. And we assess these sometimes application stage, but mainly sort of interview, presentations and assessment centres, which are applicable more to the MSc roles and the graduate roles. So when we're looking for an answer for behaviours, so we want you to respond by describing a specific situation where you've demonstrated that behaviour. And as I mentioned, we often use this at interview. So what we're looking for is a real clear and concise example, a specific example of where you can demonstrate that behaviour. So we'd always recommend using the STAR method, which you've probably heard about. So situation, task, action, result, or something similar to that. Just to lay it out, when I've been in interviews, found it that the easiest way just to explain myself and really focusing on I and not we. Candidates do struggle with this sometimes. We find behaviours as a whole, whether this is application or interview, using we particularly for behaviours such as working together and when you've worked as a team. So really just trying to find out about your specific involvement in that particular task. So examples can be from any setting, so a job, school or college, during an exam, volunteer work, hobbies. It doesn't just need to be work related. So, particularly for our level 3 apprenticeships, we'll have people who might not have as much experience. Not always the case. We do get a lot of people with career changes, with lots of different experience, but some of our younger candidates might not necessarily have all the experience. So we're really looking for an example that just fits the behaviour. So like I said, it can be from a range of different things. For technical questions, you'll need to make sure that you do your research and where possible evidence where you've sourced your information from. One sort of hot topic, I guess, at the minute is AI. I think when we've been doing a lot of sifting through applications at the moment, and they do sort of stand out, those AI applications where it's just gone straight through. You can use it, to kind of help structure your answer, but it's just to be mindful. I feel like that's quite a hot topic at the minute, so it's worth being mindful of. As part of your personal statement, you might be asked 2 questions. So again, we often find that candidates will maybe answer one question really well and then not have as many words left for the second bit. So again, just being mindful of word count and giving sort of equal words and answers to both parts of the question. For any strength questions that we might ask at interview, we're just looking for a natural response there. So I think somebody just said just be yourself. I think that's a really big tip for the interview, just trying to get your initial response and see how you react to the question. And take your time when you're answering interview questions. We don't mind as a panel if you just need to take a minute, have a breather, take a sip of water. We'd rather you do that and just have a think about it and then give us your most full answer and write it down first if you need to. So just a couple of useful resources for you. So as I mentioned, you'll need to do your own research. So this might be from sort of sources like Rightmove, so the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, as I've mentioned. Have a look at their blogs, their ethics like code of conduct, hot topics. We do kind of have a think about this when we're putting together our vacancies, what are the hot topics, things like that, and any market updates and trends. So this looks really, really good in an application if you can go that extra mile and just demonstrate that you've done that research. Civil service success profiles guidance. So this will list all of the behaviours in there that we do test, and to do familiarise yourself with this and read the definitions at each level. There'll be all the different levels, different grades on there. And again, that'll really help you structure your answer. I think something that I've always done is just when I'm preparing for an interview is have that there, kind of pull out the buzzwords of what we might be looking for. So yeah, have a good read of that. All the information you can find on the VOA on the websites or candidate packs or SharePoint, whatever it may be. Understand the work of the VOA, why we do it, and how it sort of contributes wider to, you know, the wider public services, and also VOA sort of strategy. We don't always expect you to know that, but just, you know, have a read over it just so you're familiar with it. And I think another top tip is if you are applying internally, I think it's easy for you to think, oh well, they'll know I know that because I work for the VOA. So don't assume we know that you have that knowledge. So still use examples, still demonstrate your knowledge of the VOA, and really play on your strengths and use examples to evidence it. Last couple of ones then, just what we're looking for is for your passion to come through on application and interview, whether this be an associate member or if you're applying for the level 6 chartered surveyor ones, it's just to demonstrate that. For these particular apprenticeship programs, we understand that you don't have your prior surveying knowledge, so we're really trying to pull out potential, and that's what we're looking for. I think ensuring the program's right for you, both from an eligibility perspective, so again, lots of information on whether you'd actually meet the eligibility, but also from a personal perspective, as we've heard from our apprentices, it can be really tough going, very rewarding, but it is just having a look at the different apprenticeships and seeing what best aligns with you and your personal life and commitments, and attend some of our information sessions if you can. And if there's nothing right now for you, if it is the MSc you think will be better for you, as I've mentioned, you can sign up to civil service jobs. So that's my spiel right there. I think we're on to questions, so I'll pass back to Gareth now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jess. And I should say we also had Jane Sykes from the development team join us earlier on. He's had to go, and from the surveying profession teams supported today by Kim Hall and Nick Lucas, who are also on the call to help with any Q&A. So thank you very much for all our guests today. For those of you who are watching on demand, we're going to stop the recording now to allow time for people joining us live for questions. And Jess has kindly put in the links into the chat, but thanks for joining us today.